New York is America's largest city. It's financial, media, and cultural capital in many ways, but for how much longer? It seems like the Big Apple's entering a period of steep decline, one not seen since the 70s and 80s. This is due in large part to policies of Governor Andrew Cuomo and, of course, New York City's Mayor de Blasio. There's been a massive exodus of residents, thousands of businesses shuttered for good, rising crime, homelessness, poverty. The list goes on and on. Where are the Democrat leaders in this city and state, you might ask? Well, they're too busy flip-flopping on their previously destructive policies or spending their time and energy trying to stick it to Donald Trump for his last few days in office. But take a look at what's really going on here, how this is affecting cities like New York, but cities all across the country and small businesses. We're joined by Joe Borelli. He is one of the lone Republicans on the New York City Council and a good man. Joe, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So give us the latest here, because there's been a change in the tone and in the direction the last week or so. You had Cuomo say, if we don't open restaurants pretty soon, of course they always say smartly, as if that, oh, we'll be smart, and then all of a sudden everything changes. If we don't open restaurants soon, we're not going to have any left. Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, said today, if we don't open bars and restaurants pretty soon, we got big problems. They're starting to realize what people like you and me have been saying. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, people, who could read the writing on the wall and see what's happening, we're saying we should begin reopening very soon. But back as far as May and June, New York's curve was actually flat by Memorial Day weekend, and the governor and mayor didn't reopen indoor dining in New York City until the end of September. So, I mean, these aren't people who took reopening very seriously. And now all of a sudden, it's like a veil was lifted and their eyes could now see clearly. They've realized that they've actually bankrupted the city and state. The city just announced today, I mean, they are almost $10 billion in deficit. $10 billion is larger than the budgets of just about 10 or 11 small states across the country. I mean, this is a deficit that we may not be able to recover out of, but for a bailout, quite frankly. And it is only the doing of Mayor de Blasio and Andrew Cuomo, who kept us locked down for so long.
Let's hear from Governor Cuomo. This is what he said in his State of the State speech. Play it.
We must plan our economic resurgence. We simply cannot stay closed until the vaccine hits critical mass. The cost is too high. We will have nothing left to open. We must reopen the economy, but we must do it smartly and safely.
I'm sorry, I thought that if you advocated for this, as I have, and I know you have, Joe, you're a heartless monster who only wants old people to die. You're not somebody that doesn't want to see millions of people lose their livelihood and have their life savings and their life's work destroyed. They didn't give you credit for that, right? It was always, oh, but now it shifts.
Right. It was only two choices. You're either a heartless monster or someone who is being responsible. And the governor used the word smartly to describe how we should reopen. But I think most business owners, when they did have that brief chance here to reopen, did actually operate pretty smartly. There were some capacity restrictions. People did have to wear masks. No one was acting out of control. People weren't going over to other tables and licking fellow customers. I mean, people were opening smartly. They were doing the right thing. And, look, I guess we have to be happy that Governor Cuomo finally came around to this, because this means that some businesses will be able to survive. But for so many others, it's just too little, too late, and it's empty words.
Lockdowns, in my opinion, Joe, have failed. And this is something that the people who have been pushing for them most ardently are never going to admit, because what they'd be saying is essentially, we put you through all of that and there was no good reason for it, because we've still had huge spikes in cases in places like Los Angeles, and we've had now, the whole Northeast getting hit by a second wave, and this is true in many places across the country. But one area where there's still, I think, hope of getting to the truth, if not accountability, is on what happened in the nursing homes here. We've got a full screen, we've got something to show you. The COVID death rate of New York nursing homes is back to where it was in May, taking more than 200 residents per week. At least 1 million doses delivered to New York have yet to be used of the vaccine, yet there are nursing homes that say they have run out of vaccine. Joe, we have nursing home deaths going back to their catastrophic high here in New York. We do have a vaccine. We can't get it to the nursing homes fast enough, but some nursing homes are saying they're out of vaccine. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, and you're missing one vital point too, Buck. We're in week 5. You know, we're not in week 1. If we were in week 1, we could maybe say some of these things are happening and scratch our head at what we could have been doing better. But now it's week 5, 5 weeks, over a month into the vaccine rollout, and to hear that some nursing homes in New York State still do not have adequate supplies of vaccines, whether it's the first dosage or the second dosage, is just absurd. These are the people that are actually dying. I know many people get sick from COVID. But when it comes down to the brass tacks of it all, I mean, the people that are really dying from COVID are most likely people who are elderly and most likely people in nursing homes.
Now, you're in Staten Island. We could show a map of case positivity for COVID. Again, this is America's largest city. As you see here, Staten Island, 7.8%, but the Bronx, 8.2%. But the Bronx, but Staten Island, rather, is getting more pressure from Cuomo, from what we're told. What's that all about?
Yeah, I mean, for over a month now, actually 2 months now, the governor has singled out Staten Island for having high positivity rates. Actually, if you looked at the data from like 2 days ago, we were number 3 in terms of the highest positivity rates in the city. But Staten Island, he decided, because perhaps there are some Republicans and people who don't vote the way he does, that he would use them as an example. The only other time we saw this was when the Orthodox Jewish community, had some violations. I mean, certainly they had some packed events with a lot of people, but he singled them out and embarrassed them and talked about the positivity rates there. When it's Republicans, it's okay for him to criticize. When it's Orthodox Jews, it's okay for him to criticize. When it's young Republican clubs in Manhattan or elsewhere, it's okay for Governor Cuomo to criticize. When the positivity rate spikes elsewhere around the city and state, suddenly Governor Cuomo has nothing to say.
We know what Blasio has to say as this crisis of COVID continues to play out. It's time for us to focus on what's really important, like canceling city contracts with the Trump Organization.
Mika here to announce that the city of New York is severing all contracts with the Trump Organization. Our legal team has done an assessment, and the contracts make very clear if a company, and the leadership of that company, is engaged in criminal activity, we have the right to sever the contract. Inciting an insurrection. Let's be clear. I'm going to say these words again. Inciting an insurrection against the United States government clearly constitutes criminal activity. So the city of New York will no longer have anything to do with the Trump Organization.
What do you think?
Well, this is stupid for 3 reasons. Number one, Donald Trump no longer runs the Trump Organization, so this is actually not going to affect anyone named Donald Trump. It's not going to hit him in his pocketbook. It's not going to hit him where it hurts. It's not going to shame him because he doesn't actually run the Trump Organization anymore. Number two, 3 out of 4 of these contracts are complete virtue signaling. He has contracts with 2 skating rinks and a carousel, which are both set to expire, all 3 of them set to expire in the next couple of months. So this is literally just expiring on the terms of the contract. It's a fake press pop for a lame duck mayor who's trying to do some virtue signaling. The problem with the golf course is that there's over 400 people, again, not named Donald Trump. They have names like every other workaday New Yorker, and they're under threats of losing their job. And that's sad. And the governor, rather the mayor, doesn't seem to care that just because he wants to get some favorable press, he's just going to put people out of work, put people on unemployment, and put families in difficult positions just to prove a political point. This is not what the city needs. Obviously, it doesn't even need to be said, but sadly, this is what our mayor's priorities are.
Joe Borelli, stand strong out there in Staten Island, my friend. Good to have you on.
Thank you.
Hey, Team Buck, just want to say thanks so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more great content from The First, please click that subscribe button.